Hey, just wanted to record a quick episode, update. I've been wanting to just record and mention, a few things that have happened, and also just to process some things. It can often help to, journal, or write them down, or talk about them in ways such as this. But I think it's just been a bit of overwhelm recently, or a bit of that feeling you have when you're just fed up. You're just part of you just wants to kind of give up on the process of trying to get help, and it's going over hurdles and barriers, and feels a little bit like I'm in that stage of just kind of reaching my limit a little bit with being heard. I find that's tricky. So I can't remember how I left a previous episode, what I mentioned in there, but I'm in the process of getting, or potentially being assessed by Universal Credit. So it's kind of going through their initial assessment again, and for them to reassess me. Perhaps I can start there. I recently received a message on the Journal of Universal Credit there stating it was by, I think it was somebody I don't know if it's in a disability department or it deals with a specific area. He just I received a message there, and part of it was helpful, where it said, if there's anything we can do to help. I think there's something in the message saying that. But towards the end of the message, it was about, something along the lines of, then we can see about you, how we can get you back to work, or something like that. And that was quite triggering for me, because I'm in a place at the moment where my health's probably been as worse as it ever has been, my mental health, and I'm struggling to sort of function day to day just in the simple things of, taking a shower or cooking some food. And of course I've got other very severe symptoms coming on, which I'll mention a bit later perhaps. And then so to kind of read that, it almost feels like, I don't know if that person has read anything that's mentioned previously, but perhaps it's a bit unfair to say that, because there's almost the acknowledgement I need to make that people don't know everything you're going through, or everything I'm going through. So, they've obviously got busy lives themselves. They're dealing with a lot of cases. So, I'm going to try and be open with that, and not sort of take it personally. But it was quite triggering to see that, because especially now I'm in the reassessment process, so it feels like it doesn't make sense with the stage I'm at. As part of the reassessment is to see how able I am for work, or what I need for help. So I felt like that message was a little bit out of sync, and that part wasn't helpful to me. Thankfully, I've not really dwelled upon it too much. I think I read it a little bit. I read it yesterday, and I just set a reminder on my phone to, I'm going to get some help from a family member to respond to the message, and also respond to what I need. And part of that is for them to understand that answering these messages and, going through this process, it each takes a huge toll on me. It's that's making me worse, to try and explain myself. And for instance, in the message with this new person, it's having to re-explain that I'm it's to consider work and that aspect. It's triggering me for multiple reasons, because I haven't been able to work, or work's just not happened for me in quite a few years. So when you've not done something for a while, naturally a lot of stuff builds around that, and especially and it's triggering because my health feels quite severe at the moment, and yeah. So perhaps I'm going to respond to that, but it takes a lot of energy to do it, and hopefully in a message, we can kind of write a bit more of a constructive message of what I need, and how things are with me, and so that's currently what is going on Universal Credit. So I'm waiting to be reassessed, and now I've also got to kind of respond to messages like this, which perhaps take away from my energy versus support me in that way. And although the first part of that message was supportive, it was helpful to have that saying, is there anything you need? So perhaps I can sort of answer that part of the message. And the other side is the GP surgery. I'm waiting, or I was in a process of trying to get my mental health assessed to see if there's any further diagnosis that adds clarity to my health for myself, and clarity when communicating my health to others, which is really challenging to do, to kind of just reel off symptoms and I feel like if there is a diagnosis, if my current symptoms fit or are assessed to be as a certain diagnosis, then that will go a long way to interfacing with organisations or people as well, to explain my current health. And so I sent a letter from my counsellor, where my counsellor kind of listed the symptoms that we've talked about and they've witnessed, and that was one of the requirements to get assessed. The doctor originally mentioned, we need a letter from your counsellor to say about the assessment stuff, and I was also on a waiting list for the autism assessment as well. And so the doctor responded to the counsellor's letter, and then I suddenly got a list of questions sent to me that were about autism, and it was kind of out of the blue, it felt like, because I felt like that was over. I was on a waiting list, and then I'll just get an appointment for an assessment, but I was dealing with a different doctor, or perhaps the process is complicated. So I was given a list of questions, and the questions were really, really difficult. It almost felt the questions weren't meant for me. They were meant for whoever, almost as if if a child has autism, then a parent would be answering these questions, because the person who's going through the illness or going through feeling unwell, then it's not meant for them to answer the questions. But in my case, because I'm an adult, it was just really hard to answer and really stressful as well. There was a question similar to, I probably can't remember many of them, but there's a question like, how would it benefit you to be assessed? And it was just really tough to. It's almost I was 1,000 words came to me, and I just couldn't. There wasn't like a valve to, it's a very small valve to release those words. And so it was overwhelming. It was like my mind was ballooning in some way, where I just wanted to yell, I need help. So these questions just felt really difficult to kind of, I remember I went to a cafe, I had my laptop, and I think one of the questions were, what are the symptoms you're having, or, is it these symptoms or that symptoms? And I already sent like a big paragraph of what I'm feeling of symptoms, and for me to try and do that again, like I wished, obviously I can't blame any of the doctors, but I just wish my previous message was read, previous message with the other doctors, or my record, maybe that's on my medical record now, that was read, and so that could have saved that step, because it's like, again, having to re-explain again and again. So I found that extremely stressful, like being very stressed and having to try and carve out an explanation to fit in with, I'm sure, I think these questions were from like some paperwork, perhaps it's a pre-assessment autism questionnaire thingy. So I kind of did my best to, literally I wrote a document, I just pasted stuff from previous interactions with previous doctors that I was hoping that would be read, kept up to date and read, so I didn't have to repeat myself. But I did mention in that document I sent to the doctor with these answers to the autism questions, that like this process is so difficult for me, it's making me more unwell to go through these questions and to do it. And there's also the acknowledgement that I'm aware that, okay, there is a process as well, there is questions, this paper, perhaps it has to be done, but I just needed to air that to them, to say, like, for me to answer these questions is taking a great toll on my health. It's a great strain to do that. It's almost like proving that you have these symptoms and you should be assessed. It triggers that thing about not being believed or not being heard. And in that same exchange, the doctor mentioned, I think, okay, we'll send the referral through, the autism referral, and then it was mentioned that there may be a psychiatric appointment to see a psychiatrist, but they mentioned, if your symptoms or what you've said don't fit their criteria, or if they're too busy, then it's something along both of those lines, that you won't get seen or something. I'm probably wording it really bad, but that was just super triggering as well, to think, it just feels really horrible to think, if I don't fit their criteria, like I'm in a place where it feels like I need help, I'm trying to get help, and for me at the moment it's help of understanding. It's kind of something to keep my sanity of all these symptoms I'm feeling, that okay, at least there's a way to communicate that to the world through like a label, whatever label it is, but and also makes it validates it as well, and perhaps it's not great to rely on validation in that way, because it's not on your control, it's not in my control. I can maybe just validate it for myself. Perhaps I shouldn't rely on that, but I guess it's for more than just my, just for that, my own validation to be assessed and diagnosed. But so that was quite difficult to read. I tried, it affected me quite a lot to say that if I don't meet the criteria, or so if I don't get seen, then it kind of has a domino effect, because in Universal Credit, the language they understand is, what medication are you on, or what have you been diagnosed with. And because without that, if I was to say to them, I get days where, I can barely, or if I listen to people's conversations for a certain time, a short span of time, I get dizzy and disorientated, or if there's lots of loud noises, it doesn't hold the same weight as if, that's not to say if I do have autism, but if there was some sort of diagnosis, if I fit into that, which I believe the symptoms I'm having, it's more than just symptoms. I'm sure it fits into some potential diagnosis of what I've been through, whether it's complex PTSD or but it yeah. So I'm afraid of that. And I can almost picture it now, like me just bumbling and stumbling through some symptoms during an assessment without having anything diagnosed or anything, and just going through one ear and out the other, and maybe getting a sympathetic look to say, oh yeah, that stuff. So yeah, I'm in a kind of a difficult space with that, but I feel, in the last few days I've kind of I was able to let go of, or just get some space from this GP assessment process of trying to get assessed with my health, and then being understood as universal credit, and just the being understood in general. I'm able to kind of just let that go for a bit, and that's been some relief, because I think a lot of the tension and stress has come from trying to get yourself understood and by the doctors, and be heard and seen symptoms and stuff. So yeah, I feel like I think it also helps with just not relying on that, is that cause sometimes I feel like I'm trying to fit myself into a mold of being unwell, or it can have, like, I think I've mentioned this before, I'm sure I have, just a kind of I don't know what the word is, but psychologically, like if you have a good day, you feel like, oh God, am I all better now? Should I be getting assessed, or should I be on universal credit? And it's a huge thing, isn't it, where I think I almost feel like I have to always prove I'm unwell, or I have to, so it's a weird psychological, your mind goes through that. It's almost like it's in constant contraction. It feels like me trying to fit into these boxes. It's almost stopping myself from healing a little bit, or trying to get better, or it's afraid to get better, because if I feel a little bit better, then suddenly I'll get zero help, or they'll be like, oh yeah, you're fine now, aren't you? It's all good. And I think the variance of mental health, that's not seen as well. You can even have a good few weeks, and then suddenly you may have another difficult months afterwards, and like the big picture is not seen. It's and just going into that assessment, like you're assessed for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and in that time of trying to explain how difficult life is. Of course, in a perfect world, it'd be great if they could just, if someone spends the week with you, and of course maybe that won't also give a true accuracy, because it's going to be hard to be yourself when someone's constantly watching you or doing that. But yeah, it'd be nice if you could just bottle up the mental health or what you've been through in that week or month, and then they can plug it into something and think, oh yeah, we can see exactly what you're thinking and feeling, what you've been through. So the main sort of focus is just less on, I guess, all of the kind of mental commentary and thoughts around not being understood and heard, because it just feels like it's just not helping. It would just only upset me and affect my health more, and just make me want to give up even more on all of this process, even though I'm kind of at that limit. I'm going to try and just mindfully just take care of one task at a time. So the first one will just be responding to this person on Universal Credit, and perhaps I can list out some bullet points of, okay, well, what do I want to cover in the response, and to answer their question, what do I need? So I can just kind of do it from an active state of mind versus a state of mind of, where I'm already sort of half giving up, and which makes it so much harder to speak up for yourself. It's almost like walking through thick mud. So I think my kind of mindful practice of mindfulness is kicking in or helping a lot in trying to let go of what I can't control, and maybe also let go of perfectionism as well. Let go of perhaps also just accept whatever I'm able to write to them or reply to them is what I'm able to do. Sometimes I can get frustrated at myself of wanting to kind of be accurate and mention all of these things, but just perhaps it just won't come to mind in that moment of messaging them. Like after I messaged them, I may think, oh, I should have said this, and all of this. Why didn't I say that? And it's just accepting that in the state I am, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to remember everything, and I'm not going to be able to speak up on everything. So just kind of mindfully doing the best I can in each moment. The only kind of task I've got right now is to respond to that message on Universal Credit about so I can just try and give the best response I can, a response that hopefully makes it clear of what I need. I need to be clear on that with myself as well, actually. And also clear on what can help, so I can kind of perhaps again re-explain my health to this person and state how much this process is taking a toll on me, and how much receiving a message and everything else is taking a toll, and we'll see where that goes from there. I think that's about everything. Anything else I want to add? No, perhaps I can just reaffirm or reinforce just the building blocks of health really for me at the moment is I'm still struggling a little bit with sleep. I'm doing a bit better with going to bed. I'm not too late, or not wanting to go to bed or feeling really low to try and sleep. So I actually got up earlier than I usually do. For some reason I just wanted to be productive this morning, so I recorded like a podcast episode, which was really good. Sometimes I have this I just had a bit of a burst of determination last night that I'm going to set my alarm early and get up, even though I'm struggling with sleep. So I don't know, it was a balance of just actively using that energy and wanting to do something productive and recording a vlog as well. So I managed to do that. I got up like an hour earlier than I usually do. I'm feeling tired, but I also feel I got some sleep, I think. I've had days where I've felt a lot worse with sleep, so I don't feel great, but it could be a lot worse, so I'm grateful for that. So I think today, just to focus on, I think the main thing is just to be mindful in myself of how I'm feeling, what I need, mindful in how I respond to Universal Credit. And I think with letting go of trying to be validated and understanding, it's almost, in some ways, it's freeing, because it's now, it's like I'm not trying to fit in their box anymore, because with that, like I mentioned, it's like a psychological kind of warfare, about being unwell or staying unwell or showing how unwell you are, and it kind of feels like part of you's got the brakes on in regards to my own healing or trying to get better, because I'm trying to making sure that I'm heard, that they see me, as I am, or my illness at its worst, because oftentimes when you go in for assessments or phone calls, they don't see you at your worst. They see you, sometimes even they see you when you're on a good day, and it just really, so yeah, perhaps I can just let go and just try and do things to, in some ways not be afraid of trying to get better and worrying that will affect how I'm seen by them, that it would distort their picture of my overall health. Okay. Anyways, hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.